Thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. And this is the second of a series of two where we're interviewing Richard Varrasso. Richard is doing something very new in Calaveras County. He's starting a Chamber of Commerce that also is going to be very technical and involved in communication. And has some new ideas. Richard, welcome to our program.
Hi. Thanks so much, Al. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been coming up to Lake Tulloch since I was 14, but I was raised in Fremont. Had a great childhood in a Leave It to Beaver type neighborhood called Glenmore. And so I had a blessed childhood and was able to grow and think about stuff. Always had my mind open on what was going on around me. Ended up moving up here a couple years ago because a lot of my friends are up here and the Bay Area is getting too crowded. And the thing I like about Copperopolis is that there's no stoplights. Someone told me there's only 3 in the whole county. And that's fantastic. That's a place to raise your kids. So I'm family oriented, and I brought my child up here to go to Bret Hart. He's 14.
All right.
I named him Felix after my dad.
Oh, that's cool. Well, it's better you name him Felix after your dad than name him after Felix the cat.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, so I live up here now, and I got very involved in when I moved up here a couple years ago, Supervisor Dennis Mills was getting recalled. And there was a huge hoo-ha about that, and it was from the cannabis people. And, I believe that the cannabis people have rights to do what they do, and so I'm a little bit on their side. And I wanted to know about these characters, and so I've been meeting people. Well, I've ended up meeting Dennis, and he's a great guy. He's got some really good talent on leadership. And so there's 2 sides to every story, and I thought, well, I'm going to get involved in finding out what's going on. And so I've been digging into the area and applied for a couple jobs around here that I didn't get, and decided, well, shoot, I'll start my own little organization.
Yeah.
And it's a nonprofit, and it's basically based on community.
Right.
And so that would be, and also development, just like the Chamber of Commerce is involved to developing business. And so I want to be part of developing business, mostly in the gig economy, which are independent people. Lots of independent people around here.
But gig, you mean like entertainers?
Well, gig economy is like, they call it like Uber drivers or anybody who is an independent. It's a new phrase that they use.
Okay, gig is independent.
Yeah, independent. And so it does come from the entertainment business because gigs mean that you have a job like a concert.
Right.
I'm going to my gig tonight is like a concert. But then some people say, well, I'm going to my gig and they're electricians.
Right.
There's a lot of independent people that don't join a chamber of commerce because it's too traditional. Well, my whole thing is communication based on marketing.
Right.
So if we could all find out what we all do, it's going to help with marketing your products or your services. It's also going to make your ears open up on what's going on around you. I think that that's part of the community.
That there's an email service in Copperopolis. It's hometown, and they people post things that they observe with lost cat, lost dog, and there's a traffic accident, and,
Right.
and good pizza, bad pizza.
Yeah, right.
And so I kind of enjoy. I don't get too involved with that. I don't like getting involved with some of the discontent type things, but that means of communication doesn't cost anything and allows people to feel more part of the community.
Well, and it's a little community. You know, some of the stuff that we do around here, if we did it in the Bay Area, would make no effect because they're so crowded, you can't make any noise there. But here you could actually make some noise because there's only so many of us.
Right.
The worst thing to do is to make negative noise.
Right.
Now, I understand maybe you might get a bad pizza once in a while.
Yeah.
But to ruin the guy's business is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And why don't you go and help them by telling them what was bad? But no, they don't. So part of my game is to communicate. And
in a positive way.
In a positive way, because negative communication can get you nowhere.
And it ruins your day.
There you go.
And most people come here to be happy.
Right.
So if you come here and there's effort for you not to be happy, you don't want to come here anymore.
Well, you know, didn't they tell Thumper just to, you know, say only good things or don't say anything at all, you know? Bambi. Anyway, that rings true. A lot of times, if I tear you down, you're not going to be able to get up that easy. But if I see a mistake and bring you up, then your motivation might be to make it better.
Yeah.
So
now, I understand one of the things you're involved with is something called Copperopolis Rocks. Now, that's rocks that you...
Well, you know, around this gold mining place, there's sure a lot of tailings around here, but that rocks means rock and roll, and Copperopolis.rocks is a internet radio station, and I made that URL. It really goes to my worldwide internet radio station called Famous Hits Live. We've been on the air for about 5 to 6 years, and we have about between 35 to 55,000 listeners worldwide every month.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And
that's awesome.
So how I started that was I played the bands from the Bay Area that didn't have record deals.
Right.
I come from the entertainment business, and all the bands that came out of the Bay Area, like Eddie Money, Journey, I managed Greg Kinn for a long time, and Y&T, and these bands I was involved with, and like Santana is very, very famous.
I heard of him.
He doesn't need airplay, but Puro Bandito, which is a Latin rock band out of the Mission District, they have CDs and they need airplay, and that's who I play.
I see.
So now I also play the bands that have CDs around here.
Yeah.
And I'm giving them airplay. And so Copperopolis.rocks, which is an internet radio station, allows airplay for those bands, which gives their fans a place to go listen to them.
Now, is that Copperopolis.rocks.com?
No .com. Just Copperopolis.rocks.
That's not a URL.
Yes. The .rocks is like .com. But,
wow, I didn't know
the .rocks goes to all the radio stations that they're gathering.
Okay.
And so, but the radio station URL is famousHitsLive.com. And then the Copperopolis.rocks just gets you there.
Okay.
And now I'm bringing program into the station. Instead of it being Bay Area concentric, I've widened the amount of area I cover to not only cover the Bay Area because everybody knows me there, but this whole gold country corridor and Sacramento, because there's a lot of bands in Sacramento too. But what also I could do on the internet radio station is commentary.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to talk about things, and I don't get too political, but I do talk about things on my station, and a lot of it's entertainment oriented.
Yeah. Actually, political doesn't have to be adversarial. No. Political could be comments on history and the best way to go forward and how to protect individual rights. Those are all positive things, in my opinion.
Well, and hashing out those topics. Sometimes I could when we talk about things, I could leave the table with more information and I feel better.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't tell you things, then there's a fear factor.
Right.
What's this guy going to do? What is he thinking? What's going on?
Yeah.
He's going to ruin my life, or something's going to, you know, but you don't know that for a fact.
Right.
And why would we want to base our decisions on things that aren't facts?
Right.
You need to have facts. Then you could decide.
Yeah, I think fear is spelled false evidence appearing real.
And that is out of the gossip sometimes creates fear.
Yeah.
And that's what the cigar club's for. And I call it cigar club because these guys, George Burns and all those, you know, Bob Hope and all those guys, they used to go to their country club and smoke cigars and read the newspaper.
Yeah.
And so I call it a cigar club, but we're not smoking cigars or anything else. We're reading the newspaper.
Okay.
But the thing I want to do with this is that there's so much skewity on one side or another. So how is this story reported over here and over here?
Right.
And comparatively speaking, how do you get this information out of it?
Right.
Trump keeps saying there's false news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Yeah.
And I believe it, and I do see how some news programs report it on how they want it spun.
Right.
That's not what journalism's supposed to be.
Exactly. I really agree with that. Freedom of the press is based on liberty, which requires responsibility. You don't have the liberty to harm another person. So if you run a newspaper and you're reporting news, it's assumed that you're reporting truthfully and balanced. If you're slanting it and yet pretending that you're not, you're committing a fraud against all the people that watch you or buy your publication. And at some point, this is going to be addressed. It has to be, because one of the ways that could be addressed is to recognize those that tell the truth. How about that? When a reporter or an editor or a news organization is careful about balancing their information, uses high standards of journalism, recognize that.
Yeah.
Write letters to the editor. Do whatever you can to recognize. That'll do more good than trying to expose a bad. There's so many bad.
Right.
You expose CBS, you have to expose ABC. You have to expose, there's so many bad ones that.
Well, and there's so much money behind that a lot of times you follow the money.
Yeah.
And it's real. You were saying that you could trust them, but behind the word trust is integrity.
Right.
And that means that that reporter has had to display integrity for a constant amount of time.
Right.
You don't just become somebody who has integrity overnight. And I think that's a bad function of news, is to skew it. It's almost a lobby.
Yeah.
It's almost like a lobby.
It actually is a lobby.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to make people believe that this is the truth.
Right.
And this is where I want you to go.
Right.
So that is a lobby.
It's based on the assumption that your audience is pretty dumb.
Well, and unfortunately,
Well, there are some.
unfortunately, we have displayed the fact that a lot of the public is pretty dumb.
Yeah.
And again, there's a communication factor. In order to have people make the right decision, you need to educate them about that situation.
Yeah, I agree.
So communication is something that I think is big. I'm an event-oriented guy.
Right.
I've grown up with gigs and concerts, and so a lot of times I make things happen out of thin air. In other words, hey, let's have a concert, okay? Where we're going to do it, what date we're going to do it, what band's going to be there. And after I put all that together, people all come. And after the people come, they all say, that was a great event. But it was nothing until we created it.
What sort of events do you see coming up?
Well, I've designed a few events for the creative community off the top, and one of them is every month we're going to have a morning show out of Copper Valley, and the morning show is going to be kind of based on a few things that I've been involved. First of all, I really enjoy Jack Benny's morning shows for craft. And people may go, wow, that's old. Well, yeah, I dug into this old stuff because there was some talent back then.
He was great.
And the way that he did things and his guests and everyone, I mean, it was just fantastic. So I have that in mind. And then, of course, the other great guy that did something was you cannot parallel Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Johnny Carson was one of the best guest show hosts, and so I have a lot of his element in there. And then the radio shows that Alex Bennett used to do in San Francisco, he used to do a morning show. He was on Live 105. Alex Bennett is a DJ. And he used to do morning shows, and what he would do is go to Bimbo's and have all the comedians and the entertainers come at 5 in the morning, and we'd have a big party. So by the time 7 o'clock came, everyone went to work. And so I'm kind of basing it on that too. So I'm having comedians,
Okay.
I'm having entertainers, I'm having community leaders, I'm having people talk about their events. And I'm also going to have segments that bring back things like every show I'm going to do the Pledge of Allegiance because I believe in the flag.
Yeah.
And I don't like how it's dissipated.
Right.
You can't spend a minute saying something to the flag, you know?
Right.
And so...
but it's a unifying thing for our country.
I really think that we all have to be on the same team. You know, here's something that I heard once... backstage, we were all talking about the differences of different people and whatnot and how we all sometimes don't get along. But if the aliens came down, we would all unify against them. And I thought to myself, and that's a profound statement, I thought to myself, but they're right. Black, white, purple, religion, we'd all be together if the aliens came down. And so I'm thinking to myself, well...
Now that's assuming that they're ugly.
Well, assuming they're not on our side, and it was like the movie Mars or something.
Yeah.
But the concept behind that is that when something bigger, a bigger fear factor comes around, we will all embrace each other.
Right.
And then when there's no fear factor, we all seem to tear each other apart, and then that's not right.
Yeah.
And I don't want my child to learn that. I want him to learn better principles.
You know, it's been said that our mind is like a computer, and the operation manual for that computer should be what the kids learn in school: how to use your mind, how to control your emotions, how to control your attitude. I mean, these are very basic things that make all the difference in the world and how they would succeed in this world.
Sure.
Yet we don't teach the manual.
How about how to get along with a woman? Because men and women are so different, yet we're not taught or even, given any indication on how to get along.
Right.
And so a lot of times you'll see divorces or you'll see problems between the family unit, and you're wondering why. Well, a lot of it's communication.
Right.
And
egos.
Well, and egos to the fact that you don't understand that other person.
Right.
A man's like, oh, I'm a man and she's only a woman, and the woman hears that and goes, well, I'm really going to get this guy, So, but if we got along, communicated better, we would probably get along better.
Yeah.
And I think that teaching kids that family unit and community and relationships. Of course, the church does that a lot.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to have a family unit that believes in that church.
Right.
And I do believe in church, and I have my faith, which is my personal thing. But I also enjoy other people's faith.
Yeah.
And I'd like to learn about it. Like what is the difference between a Protestant and a Catholic, or what are those? I think that the differences should be recognized.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more similarities than there are differences, because they're involved with the family as a basic unit, and also they practically all teach temperance, where you show consideration for others. And that's the key, and that's one of the reasons why religions are so helpful for society.
I think that they really help with society and culture.
Yeah.
And I think that I mentioned this to you before when we spoke about these laws and all these laws and rules and this and that. But there's 10 rules that were made a long time ago. And who cares who made them and how they came down off some tablet, and you see Charlton Heston getting the wind blowing out of his hair. That doesn't matter. That if you read them, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And if you start from there, you'll probably get a long way.
I think you're talking about the 10 Commandments.
That's right. Those 10 rules are a pretty good starter.
There's been a lot of courtrooms which have those 10 Commandments right on the wall.
Sure.
And the 5 of those 10 Commandments are little lessons on how to live in society. And it's been suggested that could be distilled even further to 2 points: keep your word and respect the rights of others. Those 2 things, if kids could learn that in school,
sure,
as a fundamental law of civilization,
keep your word, which is integrity, and respect the rights of others.
Yes.
Those 2 rules, we're all done. We can leave now, because those are 2 easy rules.
Yeah, and it's not hard to understand them.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so we got Copperopolis Rocks, and we have a website which is what website is? We want our audience to be able to write down your website. So
I started this website, and it took me about a week or so to put together on Wix, because I did it on Wix because the other websites around here are all WordPress, and WordPress is not as easy.
Right.
The website is creativecommunitycoop.com.
creativecommunitycoop.com.
And that's COOP, co-op.
Yeah, 2 O's in co-op.
Or coop.
Yeah, call it coop.
Yeah.
Now, did you have your pencil? That's good.
So now that's a new website, and we're developing it as we go, but easily you could become a member of Creative Community for free until the end of the year, simply by giving me your name and your email. And I'm gathering emails and people who are interested in order to communicate with them on what we're going to do. So meanwhile, now that's called CRM, Customer Relation Management. That is a software program.
Oh, really?
Yes, and part of the Creative Community, there's a lot of initiatives that I have, but in our world, we have a 2-dimensional world, and we put our homes and our hotels on it like Monopoly, and it's a flat board called Calaveras County, and it's basically 2-dimensional. But if you add the internet to it, you now have a 3-dimensional situation. And so that's technology. Now, there's a lot of people that move up here to get away from population. But those same people in their little ranch house way up the driveway have internet, and they're on internet worldwide.
Right.
And so it makes the community 3-dimensional now. We could actually reach out to the world.
Yeah.
And so I want to bring technology to some of these groups of people. I think that I could, and I mentioned this to my supervisor in District 4, is Dennis Mills. Yeah. And I mentioned this to him, that Google, Facebook, and all these people should be involved in helping to finance our infrastructure.
Okay.
Especially the optical lines that come up for the internet.
Yeah.
And other companies such as, I'm just going to use Pepsi or Ford, who sell products in our county should also help sponsor our events.
Yeah.
And they have programs for that, but a lot of times our demographics don't reach their criteria.
Right.
But if we put several events together, then we would have a collective or cooperative demographic, and they would fund that because there'd be more magnitude.
Okay,
And
I understand.
I brought that concept to Destination Angels Camp and Debbie Ponte,
Yeah.
who's got great set of ears.
Right.
And she listened to me, and it made complete sense. Why are we selling Pepsi? I'm using them as an example, but any company, Coke, Pepsi, or internet, AT&T or T-Mobile, whatever. But we're selling these products here, and they're not sponsoring our events.
Right.
They should be more community-oriented.
Yeah, I like the idea of voluntary sponsorship rather than taxation. Because once you introduce taxation, sometimes you lose your purpose.
As far as these events go.
Yeah, and also your purpose. What you're doing. You can be distracted for other reasons than promoting a product.
Well, and I got to tell you, we're being taxed too much on everything.
Yeah.
We talked about the hotel tax that went up to 10%.
Yes.
And I do believe that we need the money to come down and trickle to the fire department and the police department, and then the Visitors Bureau gets some money to print up their fancy magazine. And I believe in that, but then you're asking everybody who comes to see us to pay an extra dime on every dollar that they spend.
Right. Which means, okay, if somebody comes here, they have a budget, all right, and we take 10% of their budget away, that's 10% less that they can spend in our local economy.
Right.
It just goes to government.
Right. And government already has funds coming their way.
And so, yeah, I agree that taxation without representation has problems. And that's what the TOT tax is. There's no representations for the visitors who are paying the bill.
Well, and also I don't think that there is an auditing function to find out the money's being spent right. I'm not sure about that, but I'd like to know.
Well, they break it into thirds, I think, with the third going to the Visitors Bureau and I think roads and also law enforcement.
Right, and fire.
Yeah. Public safety.
You can't help the fire department enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
those guys have their hands full. And yeah, they might sit around for a couple days doing nothing, but boy, when they go to work, they work hard.
Yeah.
And policing is something that has a double-edged sword. I mean, we really need to police and keep our community safe, but over-policing is something that I'm not really for.
Well, you're talking about the planning department.
Well, planning... Are we all done?
Thank you very much for being our guest, and thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. See you next time.